Hey everyone, buckle up because today we're taking a deep dive into a field that's a lot more than meets the eye. Road maintenance technicians. You've sent in some super interesting resources from RoleCatcher,
Yeah.
especially their in-depth career guide, and wow, there's a lot to unpack. Plus, we've got those snippets about their AI tools, which seem really cool, so let's jump right in.
Yeah, it's a career path that's so essential but often overlooked. And with all the new tech coming in, it's getting even more interesting.
For sure. And one thing that jumped out at me from the guide was how it's not just about filling potholes. They keep mentioning enclosed areas. Like, what does that even mean in this context?
Yeah.
It's not something you'd immediately picture with road work.
You're right, it's a great observation, and it highlights how diverse this job really is. When they talk about enclosed areas, they're usually referring to those controlled access spaces like tunnels, bridges, even those stretches of highway with sound barriers. These environments present unique challenges you don't find on a typical open road, things like ventilation, lighting, emergency access. So, yeah, it requires a pretty specialized skill set.
So it's kind of like these technicians are maintaining the veins and arteries of a city, making sure everything flows smoothly.
Exactly. And just like with our circulatory system, any blockage can cause major problems, so keeping things moving is crucial. And the guide really stresses that how vital safety and traffic flow are to this job. These technicians aren't just fixing pavement, they're practically traffic conductors, making sure everything moves safely and efficiently, especially in those more confined spaces.
Which makes a lot of sense when you think about it. One minor fender bender in a tunnel could lead to absolute chaos. And speaking of things that could lead to chaos, the guide mentions a lot of coordination with authorities. Is that where the enclosed areas aspect gets really tricky, requiring a ton of permissions and paperwork and all that?
You hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of interaction with government agencies, contractors, even sometimes the public. It's not just about knowing how to repair a road, it's about understanding regulations, permits, all the safety protocols specific to these unique environments. So, for someone interested in this career, being comfortable with that bureaucratic side is pretty essential.
Okay, so definitely not a job for someone who hates paperwork. But on a more exciting note, the guide also mentions some seriously cool tech being used, like drones. I mean, I can imagine those being useful for inspecting bridges and things, but how else are drones changing the game in road maintenance?
It's actually fascinating how quickly drone technology has revolutionized so many industries, and road maintenance is no exception. We're seeing them used for way more than just bridge inspections now. They can survey road conditions over huge distances, which is a huge time saver. Plus, they can identify potential hazards like erosion, sometimes even before they become visible to the naked eye. And they're even being used to create these incredibly detailed 3D models of roads and bridges, which helps a ton with planning repairs.
Wow, so they're literally providing a whole new perspective on the job. Speaking of perspectives, let's talk about the work-life balance for a road maintenance technician. The guy talks about being outdoors, traveling to different locations, and of course now we got this whole drone aspect.
Hmm.
So for someone who loves variety and a bit of tech, it sounds pretty great so far. What's your take on that, based on your experience?
Oh, it definitely has its perks. You're out there making a real difference, seeing the results of your work every day. And you're right, for those who thrive on variety and maybe even a little bit of unpredictability, this job definitely delivers.
Every day brings a new road to conquer.
Yeah.
However, I did notice the guide's list of pros and cons is a bit of a mixed bag. Job security gets a big thumbs up, which is awesome, but then there's the mention of harsh conditions and irregular hours. You've got the real-world experience in construction, so what's the reality check here? What should someone seriously considering this career be prepared for?
You've got to be ready to roll with the punches, that's for sure. We're
Yeah.
talking scorching summers, freezing winters, and yeah, maybe even the occasional grumpy driver who's not too happy about the detour. And let's just say emergency repairs don't exactly follow a 9 to 5 schedule.
So it sounds like it could definitely lead to burnout if you're not careful.
Hmm.
But is the pay good enough to balance out some of those downsides? The guide was a bit vague on that, though it did mention overtime quite a bit.
That's the interesting part about this line of work. The base pay can vary quite a bit depending on your location, your experience level, things like that. But the overtime, that's where this job can really stand out. Emergencies happen, projects run late, and if you're willing to put in those extra hours, there's definitely an opportunity to make a good living.
So it's not always going to be sunshine and drones, but for the right person, it could be a really solid career path, especially with that overtime potential. And speaking of career paths, it seems like there's room for growth in this field too. The guide had a whole section on different career stages, from entry level all the way up to supervisory and planning roles. And it really emphasized how much experience is valued in this line of work, which isn't always the case.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are some real-world examples of how someone might climb the ladder in road maintenance?
Well, you could start with those more basic tasks, learning how to handle different tools and materials, mastering the art of patching those potholes. As you gain more experience, you might specialize in a particular area. Like some people really get into bridge maintenance, others are all about operating the heavy machinery. And then over time, with dedication and hard work, you could find yourself supervising a crew, managing projects, even getting involved in the planning and design phases. Some technicians even go on to start their own contracting businesses, so there's definitely potential there.
Wow, so you could go from patching potholes to designing entire roadways. That's impressive.
It's definitely possible.
It sounds like there are a lot of different directions you could take it, depending on your goals. So for anyone listening who's intrigued by this, it's worth thinking about where you see yourself in the short term versus the long haul. Would this be a good fit for someone just looking for a quick gig? Or is it more about building a long-term career?
That's a great question, and it really depends on what you're looking for. It's not necessarily a get-rich-quick kind of field. The real rewards, both in terms of moving up the ladder and just feeling that sense of accomplishment, they come from putting in the time and effort.
So it's about finding a career that aligns with your values, not just a paycheck.
Exactly. It's about taking pride in your work, knowing you're contributing to something essential, and building a career that's both challenging and rewarding.
And that's something a lot of people are searching for. Now, speaking of finding the right fit, let's shift gears a bit and talk about how technology is shaping the future of this field. You shared some snippets from RoleCatcher about their AI tools, and I gotta say, they're pretty mind-blowing. They have this system that analyzes job specs, tailors your resume. It's like having a digital career coach in your pocket.
It's amazing how far it's come.
But I'm curious, what about AI's impact on the actual work itself? Are we going to see robots replacing hard hats anytime soon?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's important to remember that technology is ultimately a tool. Just like a wrench doesn't replace a mechanic's skill, AI isn't here to replace road maintenance technicians. It's about augmenting their capabilities, making them more efficient and effective at what they do.
So instead of fearing the robot takeover, we should be thinking about how humans and AI can work together in this field.
Exactly.
What does that look like in practical terms?
Okay, so picture this. You're a road maintenance supervisor, right? And instead of having to manually sift through a mountain of resumes, you've got AI helping you identify the most qualified candidates based on their specific skills and experience. Or you're a technician out in field, and your tablet, which is powered by AI, suddenly alerts you to a potential hazard on your route. And that alert is based on real-time data analysis from sensors embedded in the road itself.
That's incredible. So we're talking about potentially huge improvements in both efficiency and safety.
Absolutely.
It seems like even if you're not planning on becoming a road maintenance technician yourself, understanding how this technology is being used is crucial.
Oh, for sure. It's changing everything.
We've already seen how drones are revolutionizing the field, and AI is poised to have an even bigger impact in the years to come.
No doubt about it.
It's really amazing to think about how technology is changing every aspect of our lives, even something as seemingly straightforward as road maintenance.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
And speaking of changing landscapes, this whole deep dive got me thinking, especially with all the emphasis the guide put on those enclosed roadways.
Right. They're a huge part of the job, for sure.
Exactly. And it made me wonder, with all this talk about autonomous vehicles being the future of transportation, if these skills could be even more crucial in a driverless world. I mean, maintaining those enclosed roadways, managing traffic flow in those confined spaces, it seems like that kind of expertise would be in high demand.
That's a really interesting connection. You're right. As we move towards more autonomous systems, the infrastructure supporting them becomes absolutely critical.
Right. Imagine a future where we have highway systems designed specifically for self-driving cars, with dedicated lanes, sensor networks, the whole shebang. You'd need skilled technicians who not only understand the physical road itself, but also all the technology integrated into it.
Absolutely. It wouldn't just be about fixing potholes anymore. It would be about maintaining the entire digital nervous system of our transportation networks.
That's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. What started as a deep dive into road maintenance has turned into a glimpse into the future of transportation itself.
It really goes to show that there's always more to learn, no matter what field you're looking at. And for everyone listening, you've gained some really valuable insights today into a career path that often flies under the radar, but as we've discussed, it's only going to become more important in the years to come.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from potholes to drones to AI and the future of transportation. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
And hopefully you've come away with a new appreciation for the skill and dedication of those road maintenance technicians who keep our roads safe and traffic flowing smoothly.
Absolutely. Next time you see a road crew out there, you'll know they're not just fixing roads, they're shaping the way we move.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And if this deep dive has inspired you to explore your own career journey, be sure to check out those resources from RoleCatcher. They've got some really amazing tools. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the deep dive.